Hello and welcome to Wing Sauce Live with Doug Hardman. He joined us today, NFT golf guru, if you will. It's been around the block. Let's just jump in. Doug, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. Yeah, this is fun. I love doing these. I do podcasts for a number of different reasons. I'm big in a bunch of different kind of communities over the years that I've gotten myself into. And so this is something I love doing.
Awesome. So let's start. What got you into golf? What started you with that?
What got me into golf? I grew up in a house where when I was young, my father was really into sailing, and my grandfather was really into golf. And if we were ever at Grandpa's house on a weekend, golf was on the TV, and I just thought it was the most boring thing in the entire world. Like, who would want to watch golf on TV? But that was the 11, 12, 13-year-old me. I wanted to be outside skateboarding, so that's what I did. But it was always like he was always tinkering with clubs or always doing something. And my grandfather retired at like 62, which by today's standards seems like really early. But back then, we're talking 1980s. That was a normal retirement age. Like, you just retired when you turned 62. And so he played golf 7 days a week. And I didn't get into golf until probably around, I want to say 2005, late 2004. I had started a company, and this was a software company. So it was we were a payments processor. If you have a gift card or a loyalty card in your pocket, mine was one of the networks that it called when you swiped the card at the register to buy your goods. And I called my dad and said, "Hey, I need a set of golf clubs. Like, if I'm going to be in business, I feel like I should be playing golf." And he said, "You're absolutely right," because people would be inviting me to go play golf with them. And I had no idea what I was doing. So I went down to my dad's house, and he gave me an old set of clubs that he had, and taught me how to swing and little things like here and there. I think we may have gone to a driving range. And at the end of it, he's like, "I'm going to give you a really special putter, but I lost the head cover, so you're going to have to go on eBay and find one." And he hands me this. It was a Scotty Cameron Catalina, just regular gun blue putter. And I knew nothing about it at all. I just knew that it was an expensive putter and that it needed a head cover. I, at that point, just assumed all, golf clubs had head covers. So I go on eBay and I type in putter head cover, and that got me a ton. But then I was like, well, that may not be the right one. So I searched Scotty Cameron head cover, and it was like the barn doors opened up. Like, there were hundreds and hundreds, and they were all like either $25 or $50 or $200 or $300. And I'm like, for the head cover? And it didn't make sense to me. And so I called my dad and asked him what it looked like. And I'm like, describe what it looked like. What did this putter come with? And he said it was a black one. It had Titleist. It said Titleist and script on it. And that narrowed it down. And I bought one for like $25 or something like that. And then I went home, didn't think anything of it. And then a couple of days later, I went back to the office, and that browser screen was still open on my window, or on my computer at the office. And I thought, what makes these other ones special? Like, why are these cooler? And so I started clicking and started searching. And then I went on Google and searched for, why these head covers were so expensive. And I found the only community that I could find was a Yahoo listserv, which was so rewind to 2005. There were no communities. There were no bulletin boards for this type of thing. It was all this listserv that a guy named Bill Vogney ran. And it was basically like you would send out an email, and that email would get forwarded to the 100 people that were on that list. Mm-hmm. And so at the end of your day, you'd have 200 emails that you'd have to go through to read of these people basically talking to each other.
Okay.
And so I said, well, there's an easier way to do this, because I had built communities before for other hobbies I was in. So I threw together I threw together a website, and I called it the Cameron Collector. And at first, I registered the domain wrong. I had Cameron spelled wrong. And so that was the first 3 or 4 days that it existed. And then lo and behold, I started to get members in. I like replied to that listserv like, hey, I set this up. It might be easier. And it went off like wildfire.
Wow.
And before I knew it, we had 1,000 members on this website, and everybody was like talking about stuff and their collections, and they're posting these pictures of these huge collections that they have of putters and head covers, and it got legs all on its own, and it went like gangbusters for the next year, really. By the time that I did a tournament here in Cleveland at the 1 year anniversary of me starting the website, was in August of 2006 was the birthday party is what we called it. And we had, I want to say like 200 people showed up for it.
Wow.
That traveled to Cleveland, Ohio, is a little mountain country club in Concord. And like, I looked back and I had 90, 100 putters, something like that. I was, swapping with the best of the best, and like these little groups of people that erupted inside of that. And it just turned into like its own thing. And it all started from me getting a set of hand-me-down golf clubs from my dad.
Wow.
So do you remember what brand those golf clubs were? Sorry, Connor.
The golf clubs I got from my dad were like, they were Ping I2s, and I still have them. They were not set up for me. They were Orange Dot, which was like a senior flex and something else. Like, I'm not even sure where he got them, maybe from my grandfather. But yeah, I still have those clubs, the 2-iron all the way through the pitching wedge.
Oh, cool.
That's incredible. So you said it went to like 1,000. Was that at the end of the year? Did it continue, or was it 1,000 initially, and then grew up?
Yeah, we got to 1,000 members after, I want to say it was probably about 3 months. Wow. But around the 1 year anniversary, I think we had like 2,500 members.
Jeez.
And that was when, so I started getting contacted by other putter manufacturers. Like, hey, can you build a site for us? Because evidently they all thought I was the only person that could
build a site.
Yeah, to do this magical technology.
Mr. Mark Zuckerberg, could you create a community for us?
It wasn't that hard. I mean, it was a Simple Machines BBS based off of PHP that I just did some custom coding for. But what made it interesting, and so it was about August, September that year, I was like, you know what, TP Mills was another really popular brand. Bettinardi was known, but not really in all the circles yet. There wasn't really the collector base for any of these. And I went to the PGA show in 2007, and got introduced from collectors to all these other guys that made putters too. And so that was the first time I met Byron Morgan. That was, I think, the first time I met Bob Bettinardi. That was the first time I met Garen Reif. That was the first time I met David Mills. I had known a couple other, guys that, were doing handmade putters on the side. And so I started Putter Talk as a website to talk about everything else, which, every manufacturer had their own section. So it was like their own mini board that they had inside of one website, because I didn't want to start like a website for every single one individually. I thought it made more sense because everybody collected everybody's stuff anyway, all the big guys. So I put them all together in Putter Talk, and that took off. And it turned out that I needed to kind of pick a field. The word that I got from, I'll just say that it was frowned upon that I had started a competing website by powers that be. And I kind of had to pick a lane. And so the lane I picked was Putter Talk, because I thought, this is cooler because it was more of an open community, and it was more of a place for other people to share everything, and everybody got along. So, so that's where I put my efforts.
Yeah, I feel like that would be like if I had to choose what the perfect, I guess, community for me, just a normal whatever everyday user, that would be just right up my alley. Because I'm not interested in just one. I'm sure you're going to get like the people that, hey, I only collect Scotty covers, or whatever it may be.
Oh yeah.
But 90% of people that are in the golf community they don't care what it is. I mean, they just want something cool. There's tons of things that are cool. And if I had to guess, not only are putters cool, if I had to look at, the bags and talk to people that I play with across the, the golf communities and friends and everything, I would say that what draws the most conversation is people's putters for some reason. I don't know what it is, whether it's the cover, whether it's just the brand. I mean, everybody is wondering what the other person is putting more so than driver. It's incredible now.
Yeah, I have a theory about that, and I've long thought that there's a romance that people establish with their putters. It's a more intimate golf stroke. It's a more quiet time. Like when you're playing, if you're in the fairway, you're grunting when you swing. If you're in the sand trap, there's sand that flies. If you're on the tee, you're grip it and rip it. Like all of that happens. By the time you get to the green, it's silence.
Yeah,
it's quiet. It's methodical. And what's interesting for me is I've got behind me here, I've got a whole rack of putters. I've got a putter back there that's got a hickory shaft on it.
Oh wow.
Okay, wow. So this is a wooden putter. It's got a metal head. It doesn't have any discernible name. I couldn't tell you the brand if my life depended on it. But I played around with it because I can.
Yeah.
Because the stroke is still this fast.
Mm-hmm.
If you give me my grandfather's driver or something from the 1980s,
yeah,
I'd snap it in half on my backswing because that's how the technology has moved and how people have evolved. But the putting stroke really hasn't gotten any faster or slower or anything. And it's still this intimacy that people associate with their putters. And that's why you get such bonds with that. And I think that is part of the collector mentality around putters, and why, all these different manufacturers exist, is because there's a romance that is established between a person and their forever putter. And maybe they collect more because they like the brand, or they like this finish, or they like this whatever. But there's still this special something that people have with their putters, and I think that's what makes it unique in the golf collectibles community.
Yeah, no, I didn't think about it that way, but you're probably spot on there. So, and there's so many names in the putter community. There's not a ton, and people know the top ones, right? And it's funny because there's some sports, maybe not golf in general, because a lot of the big brands, they're big for a reason. The pros use them, and they kind of just trickle down. But putters are the same way. Like you could have a putter, and that the guys on tour are basically hitting that same exact club and like the same name. They can go play that $450 putter, and that's their prized possession. They go out and they're like, I'm not getting another club because I wanted this one for the next 30 years or whatever it may be. Yeah,
people will switch their irons out twice, 3 times a season. They'll switch their driver out per round.
Yeah.
But you got guys that have had the same putter in their bag for forever. Yeah, look at Tiger. Like what has that putter done? Like, you want to talk about a putter
that's seen some things.
That putter's seen some things. Yeah. Right. And been everywhere on this planet seeing some things. It was interesting when so I had started Putter Talk, and I got the opportunity to acquire another golf website. It was another community. It was called Golf Opinions. This was around 2008. And it was a community that had about 20,000 members. This was before Golf WRX got really big.
Okay.
And so I acquired it and updated the software, rolled it made it part of the community, made one big thing. And what I found over the next couple of years of running that was, so now I had, Putter Talk, which at this time had 7,000 or 8,000 members. I had Golf Opinions with 25,000 members. And I was spending a ton of my time just on a daily basis in a golf community. And it's not like I don't have a real job. Like at the time I was the CEO of this startup. So I'm running this startup, and I've got this moonlighting that I'm doing in golf communities and keeping up with conversations and all that stuff. But what I found with Golf Opinions was it didn't have the same draw because there wasn't that special something with the club. It was just people like, what's in the bag? Or it was people talking about shafts, or people talking about iron heads, all things that you should be fit for, that you shouldn't be like making decisions on your own. But it really turned into, that was a pretty big animal. And I want to say it was 2011, I got approached by the guys at Golf WRX. They wanted to acquire Golf Opinions from me. So we worked out a deal, and, I sent it off, and I think it's long gone now. I haven't looked in a while, but that was like part of a lesson for me was, find a niche and stay in it, because it wasn't the same when we added, like, even my moderators were like, I don't even know how to handle this. So that was interesting, because at that time I was, I could get any manufacturer on the phone as it related to putters. They didn't want to talk to me about drivers or irons or any of that stuff, any of the Golf Opinions related stuff. But like I think Robert Luna had been at Nike for 3 days, and I got a call to go to Beaverton to talk to them about their putter line and what they could do to help make that, more of a collectible market. Like, they saw what I was doing with other brands, and they saw the other brands I was working with, and they wanted to pick my brain. So they flew me and a buddy of mine out to headquarters, and I spent the day, chatting with them about collectible putter market. So it wasn't like a foreign concept to everybody. I think everybody got it, but nobody got it at the same time. Yeah. That's what was interesting about, putter collecting back in, 2008.
Yeah. So you talk about 2008. I mean, that's not that far away from when you first got your first, I'll call it your first bag of clubs, but it's really, the clubs you picked up from your dad. And so I guess I'm curious. I mean, so you're getting calls from these guys, these big companies, you're starting these groups. I mean, how are you now? I would imagine that you're a putter expert, but back then, are you a putter expert where, some of these guys are, what is this? What is this? Here's a picture of this. Or you just say, hey, I'm in the trenches with a bunch of guys like me, and this is what they like, and this is what I like, and this is what gets the juices flowing, because this is just where the conversation goes. Like, I'm not a CEO of Nike right now, or anybody else, like Ping or something like that. But yeah, I'm curious. Like, so where did that conversation go when you went out there? Where you're like, this is what a normal guy will like and get up for in the morning?
I think what was interesting was this was a moment in time when. So you got to think back of what was happening in 2008. We've got Tiger Woods at the height of his power.
Yeah.
And like, we're talking like Darth Vader level, like Jedi mind stuff. Yeah. Like,
going to win.
He was going to win.
Going to win tournaments, and he's minus money going into 4-day tournaments.
Yeah. So that was bringing this whole new generation of people that were like me, in that they'd grown up seeing golf on their grandfather's TV, but didn't play. But now there's this, 20-something phenom that no one can escape. Like, he transcended golf into other industries, and you couldn't turn on a TV without seeing an American Express ad with Tiger on it, or a Cadillac ad with Tiger on it, or a Gatorade ad, or any
Wheaties box,
a Wheaties box, anything. Like, he was everywhere. And I think that brought kind of my generation. So now I'm 47. So think back then, I'm in my mid 30s, or early 30s, early 30s. So I'm coming into, I'm starting to get my first job where I've got disposable income at a decent rate. I don't have kids yet. I don't collect baseball cards because that wasn't my jam, but there was this like aura of collectibles that just happened, and it got my juices flowing, and it got a lot of people's juices flowing, because that was a new market. Like, you can say that, putter collecting started way back when with Ping and Karsten back in the, 60s and 70s. There are people that still exclusively collect, 029 Answer putters. Like, that's a thing, and they pay big money for them. So that was the original OG, collecting. But then the game changed, And all these different manufacturers started doing crazy head covers and crazy stampings and paint fill and twisty necks and all this stuff that really resonated with guys like me who wanted something different than everybody else in their foursome. So that was where it really started for me, was making sure that I had something in the bag that no one else had. And I joined a country club here in Cleveland, and I would be playing a round of golf with 3 other guys that I got paired with on a random Saturday morning. They would all be these high profile people, right, but they were all looking in my bag. And here I am, I've got a startup that's got some success. I've got, my first taste of success, but I had something in my bag that they needed. And then they found out how much that putter cost and their heads explode.
Yeah.
Like, that was what it was about for me. Like, where do I get that? And, Nick at Swag, his favorite line is saying, you can't get this. I have this. There's one of these.
Well, that's what I think is so cool, because people will, and that's what drives up the market too. And my brother collects, I think they're only exclusively Scotty head covers. And he's got these random ones that he's like, yeah, so I got it in this group. He got it, and whether it was a raffle or whether, you're still paying money, but you're basically paying to have a chance to win at it, which is crazy. And and so like he'll win it, and somebody will immediately message him. He'll give you $500 for that. He's like,
yeah,
and he knows it, so he's not like thrown off by it. But me, I'm like, you're telling me for that rainbow unicorn putter, head cover, Scotty cover, like someone's gonna pay you $500 for that? And he's like, yeah, that's just, this is the only one in existence, and somebody wants it that has money, so why not?
Yeah, I had I never, so back when I was really into Scotties, I never chased the head covers. I chased the putters. So and I had a hookup at my club, at my the club I belonged to. There were a number of, so I'm in Cleveland. IMG's headquarters is in Cleveland. Tiger's manager's locker was 2 down from mine. The one on the left of mine was a tour caddy. The one behind him was another tour caddy. Across the thing was another tour caddy. So like, there's this hub in Cleveland of tour caddies, and they all belonged to the club that I belonged to. And so they would get handed stuff left and right to get into their players' hands, and the player, for whatever reason, didn't like it. So he would, give it back. But they didn't give it back there. What they would do is they would donate it to the country club to auction off for the First Tee Foundation or something like that.
Yeah.
So I got in good with the head pro, and anytime anything tour related came in, he would be like, I'd get a text or I'd get a call like, hey Doug, I've got some cool stuff in my office, come check it out. And so I would go there and I'd get first dibs on all this weird tour stuff that was coming off. And I had there was one putter I got once. Brad Faxon's caddy was at our club, and he had given his putter to his caddy to sell off. And so that ended up in my pro's office, and I ended up there with cash in hand. And here I am buying the putter that Brad Faxon had set like the all-time putting record with the year before, with like least number of putts per green.
But that belongs in the Hall of Fame of golf.
Yeah.
Golf Hall of Fame, wherever
So I had stuff like that would
That's
come across.
Incredible.
Yeah, that nobody, like, again, you can't get that stuff. But if you're in the trenches and you're in the weeds and you're into all that stuff, that's what happens, is you get opportunities to buy stuff that's just crazy that doesn't exist anywhere else.
Yeah. So you're talking about these awesome things, and a lot of them are right-handed. The thing is, I'm a lefty putter. So where can what type of corner in the internet do I have to belong to try to get a sweet lefty putter?
That's one thing that is so funny. I have found over the years of being in the collectible putter market, lefties have their own subgroups that I'm not allowed in because I'm not a lefty.
You're like, you're not a lefty, man. Get out of here. Don't take our stuff.
And every once in a while, I would come across like some crazy left-handed putter, and I knew like there were 3 guys that I would text like a picture of it, and the first one to reply was the guy that ended up with it. But
oh man,
but that was actually something that I brought up to a number of the manufacturers that I ended up talking with. You know, I'll use Byron Morgan as an example. Here's a guy who, you know, boutique name, was an awesome putter maker from way back, was huge in Asia, as John Byron. And Byron and I got to be very good friends, and we worked on a putter design together. It was his, it's the DH89 is the putter that's out there. And I called it the Dalehead 89, and he called it the Doug Hardman 89. And the thing that I told him as we were working on this putter together was, you have to come out of the gates with a lefty, because you'll get all the love from them. And nobody, like, the left-handers are always an afterthought, and it's not as easy as just, you know, reversing the program and running it backwards. Like there's thought that has to be put into making the left-handed version of a right-handed putter. Yeah. So it's all different. But that was something that Byron and I talked about when we were working on that putter, was specifically making sure that out of the gate that it came out for lefties as well.
So I'm not gonna lie, I legitimately thought you just reversed it and then so that's why I never understood why it's so difficult to print left-handed putters. I'm like, no one makes left-handed putters really, and when they do come out, it's like a mad dash to just get one.
Well, so think about it this way, and this is all stuff that I learned from many putter manufacturers. So this is knowledge that was told to me by more than just one person, all of them, because when you're designing the program for the CNC mill, like, you have to tell it what to do in a certain order, and it's not as easy as just flipping. Yeah, there's a DH89. It's not as easy as just saying do the opposite of that. You literally have to program the left-handed version of it, and that was something that, you know, that I learned firsthand when working with Byron. That was something that, you know, Bob Bettinardi had told me, and that's something that, you know, David Mills told me. That was something that Gieran Reif had talked to me about. Like, everybody had the same issue, because it takes the same amount of R&D to make the left-handed version as it did the right-handed version, but you've got a 1 in 20 chance of selling one. So, you know, 1 out of 20 golfers, is a lefty. So it's a much more limited market. Now we're talking about a market that's limited to people that can afford $1,000 for a putter,
right,
and B, care enough to buy the left-handed version of it. So now we've got a small market, and we made it infinitely smaller because of the economics behind the putter itself.
The good news is, Connor, there's a lot of left-handed putter covers out there for you.
There.
That was something I loved that Swag did a few weeks ago. I'm in their Slack channel all day, and there's a like upcoming releases schedule, and I saw left-handed head cover, and I just started laughing, and I called and asked what it was. They're like, yeah, it's literally we took it and we made it a left-handed head cover. Like, so they did a left porium head cover, and they did a left-handed skull for the left-handed, and they were limited numbers, and they sold out. Obviously, anything Swag sells quickly, but they sold out extra quick. Yeah, super quick. I didn't even get one. I don't have one on my wall, but I'm hoping to score one someday.
Which is too funny. I just laughed about the left-handed stuff. So I have a question, Doug. What is your favorite putter in your collection?
My favorite, well, I've got a few.
What could have been in your collection?
Yeah. I've got a pretty big collection now. I've got the first Dalehead 89 that ever came off the mill, and that was one that Byron and I worked together. That one was a lot more special to me. We lost Byron this year in February, I think. I had texted him on a random Wednesday to ask how he was doing. I had heard through the grapevine that he was sick, and I got a text back from his wife saying that he was in hospice and not doing well. So, so that one is even more special to me. I've got this head on my desk from him. It was a maker's proof of it says maker's proof, 5 of 5 for a putter that we worked on that I don't think ever saw the light of day. I've got that first Scotty Cameron Catalina that my dad gave me. I've got my grandfather's Scotty Cameron Santa Fe. It's a Terillium Soul Stamp. So, which was funny because he didn't know, like, a Soul Stamp Terillium Santa Fe right now in mint condition would get $3,000-$4,000. And if you saw how beat up this thing was, you would just laugh. Like, he used it. So that one's really cool to me. I had a number of clubs stolen. Back in 2017, I was moving back from I had a house in Atlanta for a while because I was working down there for a couple of years, and I was moving all that stuff north, and someone stole I had a staff bag with about 30 putters in it. The staff bag was a Bettinardi staff bag, and in the pocket of it had like all my invites to all the Bettinardi socials. I had the first social, the second social, third, fourth, fifth. Like, I had all the invites that were in there, along with like little notes that people would send me. And in this bag were putters that every manufacturer had sent me as a thank you for something at some point, or a gift from the moderators to me, or something like that. I had an 18-inch putter that Scotty Cameron sent me when my firstborn was born, and it had all of his information hand stamped on the face. So the face of it said, like, you got to think of all the stamping. It said Garrett Paul Charles Hardman, September 10th, 2006, and then his birth weight and his birth height and his, all of his stats. Was all hand stamped in the face of this thing.
That's
and
awesome.
it was like 2 weeks after he was born. I get this yellow box. Everybody knows the Scotty yellow box that you get. This yellow box was only like this long, was on my front porch when I got home. I'm like, what the hell's that? And I got it, and it was a nice note from Scotty and Margaret, his assistant, that they had written me, congratulating me on my firstborn. But all of that was stolen. So, like,
that was stolen.
All these putters that had my name stamped in them, Mr. Doug or Doug Hardman or Made for Doug H or Putter Talk, or all of these putters were all stolen, and they were worthless to whoever stole them because they weren't sellable. You couldn't, the place that you had to go to sell them was my website. So I imagine what happened was somebody threw it in the back of their truck and got it home and thought they'd hit pay dirt, and opened them all up and just saw my name after my name after my name and realized that they were completely worthless. And I'm sure they ended up in a dumpster. So they're probably in a landfill in Atlanta somewhere.
Oh my gosh.
But all of those were all really special to me. And it gutted me because I had some great stuff in there. I had a TP Mills handmade that was made for Bear Bryant of Alabama football fame. So it was handmade by TP Mills, by Truett Mills for Paul Bryant, and it just had PB stamped in the toe. And I didn't know what PB meant. I picked it up at a Golf Galaxy in a bin of putters for $5, and it was a handmade. And so I sent a picture of it to David Mills, and he's like, "Send me that putter." So I sent it to him, and he sent it back to me refinished with a note about he remembered when his father made that putter, how special it was for him because he was such an Alabama fan, being from Tuscaloosa, and what an honor it was that he got to make that putter for such an icon, and that David was happy that I ended up with it, somehow, for all I'd done for the putter community. So, like, stuff like that, super cool story, totally worthless to whoever picked that staff bag up, and I'm sure it's in a trash heap somewhere.
Oh man. Well, if I ever see somebody that has anything like that I'm golfing with, I'll send them your way. I'll steal the putter back and then send it your way.
Yeah. Oh, there have been many notifications have gone out over the years looking for my lost putter collection. It's gone.
That's a bummer.
It's just gone.
Yeah, that is a bummer. So I need to spend more time in some of those, like thrift store type places in the golf section, because I feel every it's not all the time, but every now and then I'm like, hey, picked up this Scotty or this Rife putter for $3 that had a little green handwritten 3 on it that they brought up, and I'm like, are you kidding me? Why am I not just living in there until I find one of those?
The guy you got the guy you got to beat to those is a collector here in Ohio named George Palombi. Okay. And George is known the world over for finding weird shit in places that no one thought that there was a collectible putter. Like he always has crazy stuff that comes across his desk. And it's because he searches for weird stuff on eBay. He'll take flyers on things with bad pictures or no pictures, and he'll end up with absolute gold. There's a story George tells. He's got a letter from Arnold Palmer. Arnold's clubs got stolen at some point, and George found out about it. And he went on a mission and located Palmer's clubs, got them back, and then sent them to him through his connection that he had at Callaway, because Arnold had been playing it, for Callaway the last, several years. Mm-hmm. And he's got this letter framed in his office from Arnold Palmer thanking him for returning his lost clubs. So if you're thinking you're going to pick up a deal, you got to beat George Palombi to the punch.
Yeah, no kidding. Jeez. All right. Well, maybe I need to find something else to search for.
Right. Exactly. So, Doug, I met you in a Discord for golf, NFT Discord. And at one point you did a little giveaway for your putter, which I think you didn't think that was going to come out of your bag. You want to talk about that story?
So this was, so I got involved, and we'll talk about it later, but I got involved so I've known Nick Venson from Swag since 2005 when I started the Cameron Collector, because he was at the time working for Scotty Cameron, and mine was the place to talk about them. So naturally we became friends and whatnot. And so, years later, I, when he was at Bettinardi, that's a whole nother story, but I knew about Swag since he started Swag, and he'd always invited me to come take a look. And in 2018, I did a little reboot of Putter Talk to see about getting people back to using that again. It had kind of died on the vine as people migrated to Facebook groups and other things like that. And so I go out to Swag's headquarters in Chicago, and this was about 2 weeks before their 1 year anniversary. So it was in their first year. And I went out there and I spent the day just hanging out at their headquarters and talking with Nick and talking with the people, and talking with Tommy and talking with all these people that were working there. And Nick's like, let's get you some putters. So we went in the back, and Nick and I put together these 2 putters. And one of them was a Handsome 2, which is like, the old, the Answer 2 style. And one of them was a Handsome 1, which was like the Answer style, or the Newport, or whatever you want to call it. So I'd really taken a liking to this Handsome 1, and it was stainless steel sight dot. That's my jam. And we did paint fill on it, and this red, white, and blue theme. And we did, he's like, pick out any head cover you want that'll go with it. So I rummaged through and found a red, white, and blue head cover that, was the King, either 2.0 or 3.0. I forget which one. And he said, you can have that, but you can't show pictures of it yet because it's not out yet. So I go home with this putter, and this is in like February that I was out there. And so that year I played a few rounds with it, and I was like, I really like this putter a lot. And so I texted him. I'm like, this thing is dynamite. Like, this is a great putter. He's like, thank you. We worked hard on this, and this. And he really went into like how they designed the putter. It's not as simple as just like finding someone else's, Answer 2 head and changing a few things. Like, there's a lot of science that goes into actually creating these. And the way that Swag wanted to mill them was very different than how everybody had done it. So for me, this was a really special putter because I had a connection with Nick and a connection with the brand and all that. Fast forward to this year, and I go out to Chicago to meet with Nick about this NFT project that they've got. And he's like, do you need any putters? I'm like, no, I've still got that Handsome 1 you gave me. It's awesome. He's like, awesome. Great. Keep it. And I showed him like pictures of it. He's like, yeah, we only did like 5 of that grip. Like there's none of those. And that shaft is like super rare. And like, so I had this like great, awesome rare putter. So come earlier this year, we had kicked off the Discord in, I think, March or April. And I had not played a round of golf yet. So I said, I'm going to go play a round of golf today. and I found there's another member in the Discord that actually lives in Menor, Ohio, right like less than 2 miles from me. And my property backs up to the golf course we played. So we played there, and at the end of the round, I was like, because they wanted me to engage members. So I was always doing giveaways. Like I had, plenty of head covers to give away, plenty of swag merchandise to give away, in the early stages of this Discord to get people engaged. And so I ran this contest of what did I shoot? And so I said the first person that guesses gets a head cover. And so everybody guesses every single number all day long. Everybody's guessing. They didn't know if I was a good golfer or a bad golfer. They had no idea. I told them it was my first round of the year. Like we all knew that, but nobody knew how I was. And I said, as an added bonus, if you can guess my score and No Fear, who is the guy I was playing with, if you can guess both of our scores correctly, I'll give you my putter, the putter out of my bag. Not thinking in a million years anybody would get that. Now, I haven't revealed at this point what how good of a golfer I am. They don't know how good of a golfer No Fear is. They just knew that we played together. And all day long, I'm watching these numbers go by, and everybody's way off. And then I see it. It goes through that he had shot 76 and I shot 93. And I was like, oh, shit. Now I got to give up this putter that is really special to me and really special to Nick for giving it to me. But when Nick gave it to me, he said, give this away on your website or something.
Oh, there you go.
So he had told me ahead of time, do something cool with this. So it turned out that 3 years later, I was doing it on his own Discord, but I fulfilled the promise of giving the putter away. And so Ashton Stein, I think that's the guy's name, Ashton Steen, not sure, won it from me. And I was like, damn it. Okay, fine. So I boxed it up and drove to the UPS store and shipped it off. So that was a hell of a lucky guess, but the lesson was for me to never underestimate a golf community again, which I clearly did.
That is too funny. How many? Just quick question: how many putters do you have?
Well, now I have a bunch. So my father was also. I dragged him into putter collecting with me, and he got into all the parties I got into because we would go to the PGA merchandise show together, and I would get invited to all these putter manufacturer parties, and I went with my dad.
Yeah. And
so my dad got to be good friends with Byron. He got to be good friends with Bob Bettinardi. He got to be good friends with David Mills. He got to be good friends with Rife and with all the other people that I can't even remember right now. He got to know them all, and they all knew him as Mr. Doug's dad. And so when my dad passed a few months ago, and he had been working for years at a local golf center called Windmill Lakes Golf Center, and it's like a fitting lab. They've got 5 bays. They do nothing but golf fittings and custom clubs. My dad was one of the fitters, and was also a club builder. So he dies, and I go there, and I posted pictures of it on the Discord. There were 50 some odd sets of irons. There were 90 drivers. There were over 100 fairway woods. There were over 100 hybrids. There were over 100 sand wedges, or just wedges in general, of all makes and models, of all kinds, that he had just hoarded over these last, really specifically the last 7-8 years when he was working at Windmill Lakes. But he also collected putters along the way, just like I did with all these people. So I just got his collection. It's probably got 200 putters in it.
Man.
It's all one-off stuff. So I've got a bunch of stuff from everybody, and it's all stuff that just doesn't exist in the wild. There are prototypes of prototypes that I've got. There are a lot of stuff that was made for him, and it's stamped as such. There are handmades by just about everybody. There are stuff made out of materials that they never took to the public. So I've now, I lost my insane putter collection to theft, and I got another one now through inheritance that's even more special to me. So now it's really cool to look over there and see all those and know, I know not only the story behind how they all happened, but I know what my part in it was, and I know what my dad's part in it was. So now I've got a ton of collectible putters, and it grows all the time, because now I'm out and I'm back in it again, so I'm buying again. Most of what I've been buying lately has been head covers, though, so that's been my jam.
That's awesome. I got two more questions, kind of following up on that one. So if I was going to go to you and be like, hey, we got big money on the line tomorrow morning, perfect day, great scoring conditions, you got to go low, and you got this collection, what putter are you grabbing? Like, do you have your go-to, like, this is my putter and all my other putters? I'll use them for a fun event.
I did. I gave it away.
Oh no!
But Nick hasn't replaced it yet.
Well, I went back to the one that it kicked out of the bag. So I went back to the Mr. Doug Dalehead 89 that Byron made for me. That one is in the bag. Actually, right now in the bag is the Handsome 2. I've got a carbon swag Handsome 2 that's in the bag that I've been playing around with a lot. I live right next to a golf course, so I'll go to the practice green, for 20 minutes on a random Wednesday afternoon if I've got an hour to kill, and just mess around. And I like that a lot more than, like, I'm not typically an answer to style head guy, but I really like this one. I'm hoping to get back to a Handsome 1. But it's funny, like, to me, they all have their own personality. And that goes back to my comment at the top of this, where there's this romance that you have with a putter. Like, there was this ping, it's a ping mallet. I forget what it's called, but my dad had it in his bag last year. And I'm not a mallet guy, but I love this thing. It's got like copper inserts on the sides of it, and it's a huge mallet, one of these big MOI putters. But I was having a blast putting with that last week. I just took it to the just to putz around with. So the swag Handsome 2 is what's in the bag right now as my go-to.
That's awesome. That you first of all have that like putter, and then you can also switch it out. Like if you're doing random things and you want to try something out. What was it? Oh, the next one, which is kind of different, but you talk about all these different, like well-established brands and putters. So I don't know if you it seems like you live in that market, but I was curious if you had one, like some of these brands didn't immediately start and just be like, this is a sweet brand.
Yeah.
Like they grew a little bit. Do you have any writing on the wall, inside scoop of like, here's a putter that's not well known, but it's on it's up and up, and maybe it's not $700, and it could be at some point, but right now it's still making its way into the putter community?
Yeah, there are a number, but here's the trick. They all are back ordered for forever.
Oh, so it's not underground. People know about them.
People know.
Yeah.
And really, you can't just start a putter brand and have it be successful immediately. Like, people don't understand that there's a lot that goes into this. I've got so
much money, and
I've got bags and bags of putters that are just one's worse than the next, from people that made putters for 15 minutes, and it shows. I went out to the PGA merchandise show for many years, every January down in Orlando, and I would leave with a staff bag full of putters, and I could probably show you 200 putters that are from companies that don't exist anymore. Some of them are like cool ideas, but a little too kitschy for the public. And some of them wanted to be the next Scotty Cameron or wanted to be the next Swag. And you'll see a lot of that now, especially with the success that Swag has had in the last 4 years with their head cover designs. Everybody's trying to replicate that now.
Yeah.
And the thing that people don't understand is anybody can put together a head cover. The mind behind that head cover design, or the concepts, or all of that stuff, is Nick, and you can't replicate Nick Venson. And many manufacturers have tried. Some have partnered with him for insights, and I think maybe didn't realize what they had. But he started Swag, and it was lightning in a bottle, and it took off. And they can he's got his finger on the pulse of the community because he's lived it for, his whole life. He talks about, starting working at a golf course when he was, I think, 13 years old and being interested in what was in the bag. So, he's got a lifetime of collectible knowledge in not only just putters, but also, other things like watches and other collectibles that he goes to understand what the collector actually wants. So to answer your question about the next hot putter manufacturer, there are a ton of boutique putter manufacturers that are all absolutely awesome at making handmades or one-offs. But as soon as you get a little sprinkle of success, meaning you've done 2 or 3 putters well, now you've got a backlog and you've got to figure out how to manufacture these at scale. And nobody has figured that out. Like the guys. In my eye, there are very few companies that have figured out how to do economies of scale in the high-end putter market.
I would say there's three companies that have like three big companies.
Yeah.
So we've taken about 50 minutes of your time, Doug. So we'll start wrapping up.
That's okay.
So we're talking putters. What's your favorite head cover? It doesn't have to be swag necessarily, but like your favorite head cover you've ever bought, ever seen. Which one is it?
I've got a few. For different reasons. I have there's the story behind that. I won't get into this because that would end up controversial, but the story behind the Kool-Aid head cover that Swag did this year is a favorite of mine just because it exists and it's licensed.
I love it.
I'll leave that there. The whole, like, all of Swag's skulls are really cool, and that's why I got drawn to this NFT project, and I think that's a super creative way to do it. I used to collect Nike Dunks, and that was something that Nick Venson also collected, and we passed many there's the skull NFT project. We used to pass Dunks back and forth, and it was the same pattern with different colorways. And what Swag has done with the skull head cover is that they've replicated the success that Nike had with Dunks in head covers. So I think that whole head cover line is just superior to most things that are out there. I've got the first birthday head cover from the Cameron collector that I have the first one that came off the test sample that Scotty sent to me. It's got his signature on it. So I've got that one. That was cool. I've got a head cover that that I collaborated with Byron Morgan that was really cool. I've got a ton of Bettinardi head covers now. My dad was at one point probably had the largest collection of Bettinardi head covers, bar none. And I helped him sell a lot of them back in 2018. And I still have 2/3 of that collection that I haven't even gone through yet. So I know that there's stuff there in that bucket that doesn't exist out in the wild that I've got one of ones, and I've got, really special stuff there. So, my head cover collection is kind of taken on a life of its own. I've got a whole wall in my office now that's just, right now it's just Swag head covers. But I have plans to do more with, my putter collection and with my head cover collection as time goes on.
You need to add some flippers in there.
Yeah. Well, before we wrap, I have one question. Dustin, it sounds like you have a question. And so for somebody that's out there that's saying, man, it'd be awesome to start collecting, whether it be head covers, putters, like, what do you think is that best, initial step to say, hey, like, there a lot of people that are collecting. There's some people in the golf community that have a ton of money, and it's very easy at that point to go out and be like, if you have unlimited money, then who cares? But people that don't, it's like, okay, well, where do I, what's that step? Where do you go? Where do you find some of these things?
So what I tell people with any collection, whether this is watch collecting or whether this is car collecting or whether this is, I've got a friend that collects antique hammers. I get it. Or don't. What I tell people is find something that you really like and concentrate on it. Because if you get into collecting a brand, it's a never ending story. So like, if you want to collect Swag head covers, there are several niches within just collecting swag head covers, and there's plenty of ammo and there's plenty to go after. You will never get 100% of them because they're always making one of ones and test samples, and we only made 5 of this, and they get into people's hands and they stay there, and then you got to pry them out of their hands. And that's part of the hunt though, right? That was, there's a bumper sticker that Swag did years ago. It said, "Make collecting cool again." And that was really Nick's mission with the company, was to make collecting cool again, because it had kind of gotten kind of mundane. So he wanted to make something like that. So I would say pick a brand and then pick a subcategory, and find, you'll buy one of everything as you're getting up there. But once you find something that you really like, hone in on that and just concentrate on that. And it makes the hunt a lot easier. It makes the hunt a lot more fun. There are subgroups within subgroups within subgroups of people that have this, have that, don't have this, don't have that. You end up on text chains with people that are, that have, the good stuff. It's like, like anything else that you're collecting, you got to get in with a group, but it starts with either Facebook groups, or it starts, with Discord, or it starts with, communities. So, building communities is something I've been passionate about for, 20 years now in many different hobbies. And once you get everybody in the same room and you start speaking the same language, you end up learning that you all have a lot more in common than you realize. And that's what makes a strong community. And that's what makes collecting cool.
Yeah, no, I love it. That's awesome. Great answer.
So we're going to have you back on because we didn't even touch on NFTs. And I know a lot of people are kind of curious what an NFT is. I've kind of explained it.
I'd like to it'd be great to go back on and kind of bridge the gap between golf and NFT, because it seems like it's a growing combination there. Yeah. So it would be awesome, to talk more about that and have you back on.
It really is. I know we've only got a few minutes left here. I'll just touch on it for people.
Yeah, please.
NFTs, so non-fungible tokens, it's a crypto term, and it seems really scary to people that don't understand crypto and that don't understand, why someone would pay hundreds of dollars for a picture of a skull in this case. But I'll preface our next chat, which I guess, next week I can come on. There's a question: what makes an NFT different than just buying pictures? Think of an NFT as a membership card that is transferable. So it's not just a picture of a monkey or a picture of a skull. It's access to a group of people or a group of experiences or an access pass. So imagine, rewind 20 years ago, and I'm backstage at a Filter concert, which was a band that was out. I had that pass for that night and that night only. My country club membership, when I was a member there, like when I left that, if that were an NFT, I could have sold that membership to someone else and they would have paid what I paid for it, or maybe more, or maybe less. And then they owned it, and then they had access to that club. So what NFTs are is it's a way to establish a group of people that are like-minded with similar aspirations for whether that's product or access or community or whatever the case may be. It may be additional, membership privileges. It can be many things, but it's not just the picture. The picture is really arguably the least important thing of the NFT. So like with this Swag Skulls drop that we just did, those were all, 3,333 generated skulls. Every single one is unique. Every single one is different. And they all have their own traits. They all have their own personality, but they're all linked to the same community. So the community is the Swag Discord, which in order to be a member of, you can join and you see a general chat room. If you're a holder of one of these NFTs, all of a sudden when you link your Discord to your crypto wallet, now you see 50 rooms that open up where we've got sports chat talking about F1, talking about football
hockey.
And baseball and basketball and hockey. Yes, hockey. I realize I'm on a hockey podcast talking about golf and NFTs. But you see the rest of the rooms that you now have access to. So that's a membership to give you that, but then you get sneak peeks to things that are coming out that aren't necessarily posted on Instagram yet, or aren't posted on the website yet. So you get early access by being a holder, and you get access to talk to the founders and people that work there on a daily basis. They're all chiming in on chat. So this walled off garden exists, and your access to it is by purchasing an NFT.
No, that's awesome. That's a great explanation. I'm sure there's questions that can be spawned off of that, because it's like, how far can you go? And I'm sure maybe the answer is there's no limit. So I'd love to dig into that deeper next time and have you back on. I love the layman's terms and of trying to figure out what an NFT is, because I feel like that's kind of people talk about it, but it's something out there and we don't exactly know what it is. So it's great to bring that back to earth. So I appreciate that. But Dustin, I don't know if you had anything else, but I'm good on my end. I love the chat.
I didn't, Doug. I appreciate you taking time today. Thank you very much for taking an hour. We're definitely going to have you back on to kind of, like Connor said, bridge the gap a little bit more between golf and NFTs.
If you next time, throw some pictures of some putters that you want to talk about to Dustin beforehand. We'll bring them up. Some special ones that aren't on the internet. I'd love to see some. I'd love to see some live.
Okay.
And next time we'll have to get your one-off hockey story.
Oh yeah, I can tell that story in 90 seconds.
Do it.
Okay.
Let's do it.
I have been to and seen one hockey game in my entire life. It was opening night, first game ever of the Columbus Blue Jackets. And I was living in Columbus, Ohio. I get these tickets. I don't know how. I don't know from where. I don't remember any of the lead up to how I ended up at this first game.
You're like, now I'm here. I wake up and I'm in an arena.
Yeah, I watched them build the stadium. I watched all that happen. And I end up with tickets, and I've got really good seats. And I get nervous because I don't know a damn thing about hockey, like at all. I used to work with this lady, and she was really into hockey. So let me call her. So I call Marilyn and say, Marilyn, I need you to educate me about hockey in 60 seconds. She's like, what do you mean? Like, it's bigger than that. It's like, no, I'm going to this Blue Jackets game tonight, and I don't know what I'm supposed to be rooting for. Like, what's good, what's bad? She said, every 15 minutes, just stand up and scream icing. Okay, fine. So every 15 minutes, I would stand up and scream icing. And everybody was like, totally. I, to this day, don't know what icing means. But that's what I was told to do. So if I ever find myself at a hockey game again, or I see it if I see it like in a bar passing, that's my joke, is I just scream icing, and someone will always agree with me.
Like, yeah,
I love it. I love it.
Oh, that's great.
Awesome. Well, good story. Thank you, Doug. Have a good one.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right. I'll see you.
Take care.